The year is 1947, the British Raj is nearing its end. India, a land of ancient cultures and diverse faiths, is a cauldron of anticipation. The idea of a divided India is taking root. For centuries, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, and others had coexisted. Political maneuvering and communal tensions escalated. The Indian National Congress envisioned a unified India. Meanwhile, the Muslim League demanded a separate state, Pakistan. As the sun set on the empire, the shadows of partition lengthened. The partition of India was a complex and tragic event rooted in a confluence of factors. British imperial policy exacerbated existing religious and social divisions. Political ambitions and a thirst for power further fueled the fire. The decision to divide the subcontinent was made hastily, with little regard for the human cost. Cyril Radcliffe, a British lawyer, was tasked with drawing the borders. Armed with outdated maps, he etched lines with devastating consequences. The announcement in June 1947 unleashed violence and displacement. What followed was one of the largest mass migrations in history. Millions were forced to flee their homes. Communities that had lived together for generations turned on each other. The partition of India was not just the birth of two nations, it was the shattering of countless lives. Millions were uprooted, their worlds turned upside down as they were forced to abandon their homes, lands, and all that was familiar. Families were torn apart and communities fractured, leaving behind a legacy of trauma and loss. Imagine the desperation of a family, carrying their meager belongings, trekking hundreds of miles in search of safety. The fear in the eyes of a child, witnessing horrors no child should ever see. The anguish of a mother torn between protecting her children and preserving their heritage. The stories of partition are tales of unimaginable hardship, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. They are stories of loss and displacement, but also of courage, compassion, and the desperate hope for a new beginning. The trains, overflowing with refugees, became symbols of this turbulent period. Carriages filled with both the dead and the hopeful, all bound for an uncertain future. Section 4. Ghosts of Partition, the violence that still haunts. The partition of India was a tragedy of immense proportions, marred by widespread communal violence. Estimates of the death toll vary, but it is believed that between 200,000 and 2 million people lost their lives in the ensuing chaos. The violence was brutal and indiscriminate, targeting innocent civilians based solely on their religion. Neighborhoods were transformed into battlegrounds and places of worship were desecrated. Men, women, and children were massacred, their bodies left to rot in the streets or dumped into rivers. The scars of this violence run deep, etched into the collective memory of both India and Pakistan. The horrors of partition continue to haunt the subcontinent, a stark reminder of the human cost of division and the fragility of peace. The violence left an indelible mark, shaping the relationship between India and Pakistan for decades to come. It sowed the seeds of mistrust and animosity, fueling a cycle of conflict and suspicion that continues to this day. Section 5, a subcontinent divided, the geopolitical fault lines. The partition of India did more than just create two new nations. It redrew the geopolitical map of South Asia. The hasty division of Punjab and Bengal, regions with mixed populations, created immediate tensions and sowed the seeds for future conflicts. The dispute over Kashmir, a princely state with a Muslim majority that remained a point of contention, further exacerbated relations between India and Pakistan. The partition also had profound implications for the region's security. India and Pakistan emerged as rivals, locked in a nuclear arms race that continues to drain their resources and threaten regional stability. The shadow of partition has loomed large over South Asia, hindering cooperation and fueling mistrust between the two countries. The legacy of partition continues to shape the political landscape of the region, influencing foreign policy decisions and hindering economic cooperation. The unresolved issues stemming from 1947 continue to cast a long shadow, a reminder of the enduring consequences of division and the urgent need for reconciliation. Section 6. Scars Across Generations, the enduring legacy of partition. 77 years have passed since the partition of India, but its legacy continues to cast a long shadow. The physical and emotional scars of that tumultuous period are still felt by generations who lived through it and inherited its trauma. They are tales of loss, displacement, and violence, but also of resilience, courage, and the enduring power of hope. The partition of India serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the fragility of peace and the importance of tolerance and understanding.